Hello everyone, let's make this dress together. So guys, this is my starting line right here. Now I'll go ahead and take my armhole depth. So my armhole depth is 8 inches. I'll come over here and mark 8 inches as well. I'll use my ruler to make a straight line to connect the dots together. So after doing that, I'll go ahead from my starting point. I'll take my bust point measurement. I will also use my ruler to connect the dots together. After doing that, I'll take my half length measurement. My half length measurement is 17. I added half an inch to it, making it 17.5. So the half inches is for joining allowance. So after doing that, I will connect the dots together as well. So this is the front half length I'm drafting out. So I went ahead and labeled my lines. So moving on to the next step, I went ahead and take my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 15. I added half an inch for joining allowance, making it 8 inches. So after doing that, I just connect. So the next thing I'll do now, for my neck width, I'm using 3 inches for the width, and for the depth, I'm using 3 inches as well. So I'll go ahead and use my curve ruler to connect them together. So the next thing I will do now is to take my shoulder slant. From my shoulder line, I came down by 1 inches. I'll connect it back to the neckline. This is for my shoulder slope. So the next thing I will do now is to get my armhole curve. I divided my armhole into two. From the midpoint, I mark it right there, and I'm using 0.7 inches for my armhole curve. So after doing that, I will just connect it like this. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to input my dart measurement. So I'm going to place my bust span divided by 2, which is 4 inches. So I mark 4 inches at my bust point and my waistline. So at my waistline, I'm going to mark my dart leg. So on both sides, I came out by 0.7 inches. Then I'm going to connect from my bust point down to the dart leg I marked. So guys, on this dress there is no dart, so I'll be manipulating the darts on my paper. I'll be adding bust darts. From my bust point, I came down by 1 inches. I'll connect it back to the bust point. Now I'll go ahead and input my body measurement. So my bust measurement is 9.7. I added 1 inches for allowance. My waist is 8.5. I'm going to replace the dart intake I took. The dart intake is 1.5. I mark it right there and add 1 inches for sewing allowance. So I'm going to connect from my bust point down, from my bust down to my waistline. Okay, so after doing that, from my bust line I came out by half an inch, so I'm going to connect it back to the bust dart line. Now I'll go ahead and add half an inch to the shoulder for joining allowance. After doing this, I'll go ahead and cut it out. Moving on to the next step, I went ahead and cut out my bust dart. So this dress is dartless, so there's no dart on this dress. That is why I'm cutting it out on my paper. So after cutting out my bust dart, I'm going to close it with my masking tape. So I stop cutting at the bust point. So after doing that, I'm going to cut one of the waist dart leg, just as you see me do. I will stop at 1/4 inch at the bust point, so that I'll be able to close the bust dart and tape it down. After doing that, I went ahead and cut out the other dart leg at the waistline, so that I'll close the dart as well. So I went ahead and cut it out. Then I'm going to place another paper underneath this pattern and then tape it down. I'll be taping it down on both sides. Now I'll go ahead and cut out the excess from the down part. From my armhole curve, I'm going to place my ruler like this. I'm going to connect from one of my dart leg to the armhole area, and also connect the other dart leg to the armhole, just as you see me do. After doing that, I'll cut through the line and then tape it down as well. Now I'll go ahead and close it and use my masking tape to tape it. After doing that, I'm going to place paper underneath this pattern paper. I will tape it down, then get a straight line. So cut out the excess from this paper. Now I'm trying to get a straight line right here using my measurement, my half length measurement, so that I'll have a straight line. Then cut out the excess paper. After cutting it out, I have 17.5 inches, which is my half length measurement. So remember, I cut out 1 inches away from my bust dart. So at the armhole area at the waistline, I'm supposed to have 16.5 inches, not 17.5 inches, because of the 1 inches bust that I cut. So now I'm going to retake the measurement again. At the armhole area, I need 16.5 inches, so that it will match up with my back half length. Okay, so I'm going to mark 16.5 inches at the armhole side, while the center point remains 17.5 inches. So I'm going to connect from the armhole area like this down to the midpoint, just like this. With this, the back and the front sides will be the same. Okay, so I just went ahead and reshaping the bust dart again. So this is all for the front. Now let's move on to the skirt part, which is the down part. Now this is my starting point right here. I'm going to take my waist measurement. So my waist measurement is 8.5 plus 1 inches sewing allowance. From my waistline down to my hip line is 8 inches. I'm going to mark my hip line right here, and then use my ruler to connect it to make a straight line. From my hip line, I came down by 4 inches, so this will serve as my full length. After doing that, I went ahead and label. So this is the full length right here, and my hip line, my waistline. The next thing I went ahead to do is to take my waist measurement. So my waist measurement is 8.5, and I added 1 inches for sewing allowance. My hip line, I put my hip measurement 11.5. I added half an inch for ease and 1 inches for sewing allowance. So at my full length, I also mark my hip measurement, which is 11.5. I added half an inch for ease as well and 1 inches for sewing allowance. So after doing that, I'm going to connect from my waist down to my hip line. I'll be connecting my body measurement first, then connect my allowance separately. Now I'm connecting my allowance. I went ahead and extend the lines. Now I'm going to divide my body measurement into two, just as you see me do. I'll get the midpoint and mark the midpoint right here. Now from the center, I'm going to come out by 1 inches. I'll just make the line visible. So from the center point, I'm going to come out by 1 inches as well. I'll mark it right there. Now I'm going to go up by 1.5 inches. For the cups, I went up by 1.5 inches. Please guys, use 2 inches because I later used 2 inches. So now I'm going to place my curve ruler like this. Just watch carefully. So I will connect from one line down to the other line. Okay, so after doing that, I'm going to connect it together, just as you see me do. I'm going to place my ruler at the other line and connect it as well. After doing that, I'll connect this one as well. So guys, I marked 1.5 inches. You can go upward by 2 inches, 2.5 inches or 3 inches. It depends on how deep you want your curve to be. Okay, but I use 1.5 at this pattern paper. When I was sewing, I used 2 inches on my curve, okay, to give it more effect. So this is how I cut out my pattern paper. So I went ahead and add half an inch to the waist for joining as well. So I'm done for the front pattern paper. Now let's move to the back. This is my starting point right here. Now I'm going to take my armhole measurement, which is 8 inches as well, and my bust point 10.5. So my half length is 16 inches, so I will add half an inch for sewing allowance, making it 16.5, while my front half length was 17 inches, so my back half length is 16 inches. Now I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect all the dots together. So guys, this back I will be cutting out the dart as well. So I went ahead and labeled my lines just as usual. Now I'll take my shoulder measurement. So my shoulder measurement is 15, and I added half an inch for joining allowance as well, just the same way I did to the front. So guys, for the neck width I use 3 inches, and for the depth I use 1.5 inches. So for this back pattern paper, I made a mistake right here. I forgot to add zipper allowance. I will be adding zipper allowance when cutting on my fabric. Okay, so the next thing I will do now is to take my shoulder slant. So I also use 1 inches for my shoulder slant, and then I'll connect it back to the neckline. Now I'm adding half an inch for joining allowance for the shoulder. So I went ahead to place half of my armhole into two, and then go in by 0.7 inches as well for my armhole curve. So, and then connect it together. Now I'll go ahead and take my bust span measurement, which is my nipple to nipple divided by 2, which is 4 inches. So I mark 4 inches at my waistline and my bust point 4 inches. So I'm going to connect the dots together, making a straight line. At my waistline, I'll come out by 0.7 inches on both sides, just the same way I did to the front. So I'm going to connect it from my bust point down to my dart legs. So guys, this part won't be having bust darts. Now I'll go ahead and take my bust measurement and add 1 inches for sewing allowance. I'll also go over to my waistline. I'll mark my waist measurement, replace my dart intake, and add 1 inches for sewing allowance. Now I'll go ahead and connect from my bust down to my waistline. So this is all for the back. Okay, so guys, I'll be cutting out the darts as well as I said earlier. Now I'll go ahead and cut out this pattern first before I cut out my darts. Now from one of the dart leg, I'm going to place my ruler like this. From my armhole curve, I'm going to connect it down like this, and also place my ruler at one of the dart leg, and then connect it down as well, just as you see me do. Now I'll go ahead and cut it out. So I'll cut through the new dart leg I just drawn. After doing that, I'm going to close the dart and use my masking tape to tape it down. So I'm going to place paper underneath this pattern just to complete the length. So I will also tape it down as well. Now I'm going to retake my measurement, okay, so that I will have 16.5 inches as my half length. So guys, after doing this dart manipulation, I won't be sewing any dart on my dress again. I found this method very cool because there will be no dark line on your dress. It will look so smooth. So I love this method. Now I'm just trying to check my half length measurement. So at the armhole area, I cut out 1 inches away for shoulder slant. So that is why I place the tape like that. And then I'm going to make a straight line, then cut it out. So guys, after cutting it out, this is the front and the back. At the armhole area, if you check properly, they are aligning together, okay. So this is what it looks like at the armhole. So guys, I didn't cut out the back skirt. I'll be using this front pattern paper to cut my back skirt on my fabric. So this is the fabric I'll be using. So I'll place my pattern papers on my fabric. So this is the front. I will use it to cut it out, then cut out the back. So for the skirt part or the down parts, I added some inches for sewing allowance with the gather. Now this is the back pattern paper. As I said earlier, I added 1 inches for zipper allowance. So this is it. Now I'll go ahead and cut it out. At the waistline, I'm going to take out half an inch for the zipper bulge. So this will eliminate the zipper bulge at the waistline. So I'll cut it out. So I just mark it like slant towards the neck area. So this is the front fabric right here. So I placed it on another fabric to cut out the back. I added 1 inches for zip allowance for the back as well. So I'm going to take out half an inch from the waist area as well, then connect it downward like slant and then cut it out. This is to eliminate the zipper bulge at the waistline as well, just the same way I did so the back half length. So guys, this is my fabric. I've cut them out. This is the front and this is the back. So now to cut out my gathers, I went ahead and measure this place round so that I will know the measurements I will cut out for my gather. So after measuring it out, I had 16 inches. Now I'm going to triple this 16 inches for my gather cutout. Now I'm going to take the dress length and minus it away from my total full length, then I will use it to cut out my gather. So this is the front and the back half length. I place them right side facing each other. Now I'll go ahead and join the shoulders together and then also join my half lengths together as well. So the right side are facing each other. So guys, I'm done joining the half lengths together. I also went ahead and fixed my sleeve and shaping the two sides with my body measurement. So this is my bias right here to turn the neck. Now this is the color I'll be using for my gather. I minus my dress length away from my total full length. So my gather full length is 10 inches. So the 10 inches I divided it into two. I added 1 inches to the 5 inches for the gather length for joining allowance and for the hemming of the down. So the next thing I went ahead to do now is to go over to my sewing machine and join them together. My zipper allowance is not closed, so I started joining from my zipper allowance. Okay, so after joining, this is what it looks like at the front, and at the back this is what it looks like. So guys, if you find this video helpful, please don't forget to share, comment, like, subscribe. So I also went ahead and fixed my zip. Okay, it's an invisible zip, and if you check the joining allowance for the zipper, they are all aligning, and also aim the down part. So this is the finished look of this dress, guys. Please subscribe to my channel if you are new here. Please see you on my next video. Bye.